Hey everyone, Kevin here from Skywatcher. Welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We take a look at everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest on to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. However, this month's a little bit different because it's Women's History Month, so we thought we'd shake it up a little bit. And the next 3 weeks, we have different women in astrophotography and astronomy that are coming on to present and talk about why they are doing astronomy. And we're going to kick off that series today. By the way, this is a pre-recorded episode, but it's March 17th is when this is actually airing. Because two of our guests are joining us from international, one across the pond and the other one down south in the southern hemisphere. So it's been kind of a challenge to get this recorded, but that's why it's recorded. So thank you, technology. These are generally live episodes, however, and if you ever want to go back and watch any of our episodes, you can go back on YouTube and check it out whenever you like. So this is going to be a fun episode. We're going to get started because we have 3 people joining us today and we've got a lot to cover. So we're going to go right into it. So I would like to introduce, Katie, Sarah, and Lydia from STELA. So hello, ladies.
Hi.
So I know what STELA is. The Skywatcher team knows what STELA is. A lot of people know what STELA is, but a lot of our, group out there probably doesn't, so I wanted to take the time and have one of you or all of you kind of explain what is STELA, and then we'll kind of dive into the rest of the episode. And any one of you can take the ball on this.
Go for it, Lydia.
Oh. So I didn't start it or anything like that. It was Sarah and Diana that started it. I can't remember how long ago how long was it? Like 2 years ago, at least?
I think it was around 3 or 4 years ago now.
3 or 4, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So they've had it going for a while, and for a really long time it was just those two learning how to do astrophotography together. But really, STELA is just about helping like women learn how to do astrophotography without any of the pressures or anything like that you would normally have if you're just reaching out to strangers or whatever. We really try to make it as welcoming as possible. I'll be the first one to say, like, anytime we get a new member, like, we announce it and everybody starts following them and everything and like having your back basically. So it's like we really want everybody to feel that they can ask us any sort of question, even if they're not a member and they just have questions on like starting astrophotography, like, or just learning how to do something. Like, they could always reach out to any of us and we would answer it with no pressure or anything like that.
Yeah,
Sure.
the support's definitely there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because astrophotography is already a very challenging and very intimidating thing to get into, and there's obviously a lot of opinions about how you should do it and why you should do it this way and what kind of equipment that you should get and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then there's just the social challenges of it too. So we all bring our own crap, if you will, into these new circles of people. So I think that's what's kind of cool about STELA is you guys kind of have this safe harbor for women to kind of come in and learn this.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Just so people know, rather than me state everything, what does STELA stand for?
Striving to engage ladies in astrophotography.
There you go. So.
Yep. We are kind of looking of changing the A to like astronomy to like
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
More
It's a wider
available for
scope.
anybody that has an interest in that sort of hobby. So like even if they do just like space like artwork or anything like that, like you could always join STELA. So like that's something we're still working on, thinking on. But if so, like, we'll totally announce it and everything, if that's the case.
I think that makes sense, actually. More sense, yeah. Because it is a wider field now with, as you say, a lot of artists coming in and, putting their works forward. Also, as you say, there's wide field like star trails and light painting in the night sky. There's just so much now. It's not just all deep space anymore.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I remember when I first joined STELA, I think I'm coming up on no, it must be my third year now I'm coming into. And it was by sheer accident. I was on Instagram and I saw a post go up. And I'm like, STELA, what does STELA mean? And I went into the messages and messaged in and said, can you explain a bit more? And it was Diana who contacted me, and we had arranged to have a meeting because she says what we do is we kind of interview you online privately just to make sure, that you are who you say you are, which is fair enough. But for some reason, the meeting get forgotten about and it took forever. And eventually she just said, you know what? I'm just going to allow you in. And I went, oh, be careful. And since then, I mean, what we do is there's regular meetings on Discord with STELA girls. And obviously all the different time zones can cause an issue. I can't always get onto the American side of it. So the UK have their own STELA meetings every Saturday morning, and it's become quite notorious. And we have a good laugh. And the beauty of it is there's been some amazing friendships that have been bonded, like I've met so many people through it. Nico Carver came over to Scotland in the summer, and he was sat here in this living room with me, and we took him out and he got to meet Amber. He couldn't meet Helena that day, but as I say, there's been so many people, and through STELA, I'm going to Canada in August to meet up at Starfest with a lot.
Oh, we're supposed to go to that.
Yeah. So as I say, it's just amazing. And you don't get that fear factor that you would if it was a complete stranger outside, because you trust these girls, you're speaking to them on a regular basis, not just about astronomy, but and I'm not meaning this in a sexist way by any shape or form, but there's a kind of girl power where we all kind of, take care of each other and make sure that, we're all okay. If anybody's going out, we make sure, are you okay? If you get somebody there, is there a male presence? There is a lot of support there if you want it. And as Lydia says, if you want to start at the very beginning, but you feel intimidated because all these women that have been doing it for so long, you're like, no, we all started somewhere, and they'll quite happily take you aside privately and do it all, So I'll let Sarah get in at some point here, because I could talk for Britain.
He does too.
That actually kind of segues it to an interesting thing I try to ask everybody when we do this, and that's kind of how each individual person got into astronomy. So I will throw that to Sarah first and let her run that ball.
Awesome. So I got into it because my husband and I were talking one day. Excuse me, I've got a head cold if I sound a bit funny. And the Australian accent. We were talking one day and we're like, oh, we'd love to get a telescope and look at the night sky and whatever. At this point, we lived in Adelaide, so we had lots of light pollution. But we bought a really cheap telescope one night, and it happened to be a supermoon that night. Excuse me. And I took a photo of the moon just through the eyepiece with my phone, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So the next day I packed up the cheap telescope, I took it back to the store, upgraded it to something that was completely wrong for astrophotography. So that's what I wanted to do, take photos. The lady in the shop, bless her, had no idea what she was talking about, but anyway, I have a good visual telescope now. But yeah, and then I started just, you know, getting into finding out myself how to do stuff, like how to take photos, you know, of nebula and stuff. And obviously Orion was my first shot, as most people do. You know, it's usually their first shot. Yeah, so, and then I met some amazing people through the Astronomical Society of South Australia. Been on many astro camps with them, and learnt a lot, and really good bunch of people. And then I started to get into online, you know, watching Twitch streams and Instagram and stuff like that, and then, you know, met the world of astrophotography, basically. Met Diana, and I remember very fondly, I was actually at an astro camp in the Flinders Ranges, and she'd messaged me and said, "Oh, do you have a, can we video chat?" And I'm like, "Oh gosh, what's wrong?" And then there's no reception up there, so I had to drive a few kilometers down the road. Anyway, we got on a video chat, and she's like, "I think we need to start a group. We need to start a group of females, you know, to have a safe space to ask questions and talk about astrophotography." And you know, it's a very male dominated hobby, and you know, you do get a lot of negativity, you know, with processing and stuff like that. You know, astrophotography to me is an art form. How I process is going to be how I like to see it. But we wanted a safe space for females to share their excitement and, you know, crappy images, because they're all crap when we start. You know, and just be excited about it, and, you know, be comfortable asking what might be a stupid question, which never is, but, you know, without the backlash of people who have been doing this for, you know, 10 20 years. So yeah, that's my story, and I have been doing this since, I think it's about 2019 now, maybe a little bit earlier. Yeah,
nice.
Maybe 4 years. So now, as you can see, I've accumulated a bunch of telescopes.
They do tend to pop up. Well, for you in particular, because from people probably don't know, you actually work for Skywatcher Australia.
Yes.
So kind of comes with the territory after a while. They just kind of pop up like rabbits. So.
Yes. Yep. And I'm very honored and proud to be the first female Skywatcher Australia ambassador as well. So that's really cool.
Woot.
Yes. Yay. So yes.
How about you, Lydia? I've known Lydia for a little bit now, and for those who don't know, because I know there's a lot of first name basis flying around here. Diana, if you don't know, Diana is Diana Herber, who works at Starizona, who is one of the nicest human beings you will ever meet, and one of the kindest people you will ever meet. And she's always trying to get people into astronomy. And if you ever want to talk to her, call up Starizona. She's probably going to pick up the phone. That is the Diana that they are referring to, and we tried to get her on, but scheduling got kind of hard. But if you're wondering who Diana is, that is Diana. So she's a lovely person. If you ever want to talk to her, she's a phone call away, and she'll be happy to answer your questions that you've got at Starizona. And the rest of the Starizona team is also awesome as well. So
very knowledgeable. She knows her stuff too.
Yes, definitely. She does. Yeah. She's a gem.
Lives for
Okay, Lydia, where's your back history?
So I kind of, honestly, it started in like during COVID. I was kind of like just curious about telescopes in general. And I had put it like on Facebook, you know, it was like, because I figured someone would know out of everybody. So I was like, I'm just going to throw it in there. So I threw it in there, and one of my cousin's wives, or his wife, told me that I could rent a telescope from our local library, which I had no idea about. So I went ahead and I rented one, and it was like a small little like tabletop Orion telescope. And I basically was just like, all right, well, let's try to figure it out. So it took like a while to like figure out the little tiny telescope, but we did it, basically, me and my friend, and we pointed it at the moon, and that was it for me. Like, honestly, like the first time just seeing it visually, like just like blew my mind basically. So I was like, okay, I want a bigger telescope. So I sent that back, and then I ended up getting an Orion XT6 Dobsonian, which I still have. And I was just looking at things visually and everything, you know, like especially during COVID when everything was on lockdown, I would just take my telescope out and just look at the moon, if anything, or like planets that I could get. And then I eventually was just like, I want to try to take a photo. So I would try to take photos like on my camera and everything, and then I got curious about the Milky Way and eventually bought a DSLR to try that. And then me and my sister and her boyfriend like went to like a Bortle 2 zone, which is like 2 hours away from here. And just, I tried to take a photo of the Milky Way and it popped up on my screen and I was like, whew, this is it. Like that's done. Like the hole is already burning in my pocket basically. So, yeah. So ever since then, it's just been like a whole like journey of trying to get the things that I want so I can take the photos that I want basically. And I just barely got a mono camera, so I'm super excited for that, even though there's nothing but clouds right now. But
that's right, Lydia. I have corrupted Lydia on using a remote telescope system, so everything just sucks compared to that, where it's like, well, I'm gonna sit in my bed and just boop 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 boop.
Like... I do like it, and I try to use it when I can't use it, like when I can't use my own equipment, you know, like if it is super cloudy or something like that, or snowing constantly, because that's what it's been doing.
Yeah.
Then I'll use the remote observatory. But I honestly like taking all of my stuff out and then just like, I'm so used to like being out in the cold for hours basically. So I'm like, it's fine. I'll just wear a snowsuit. It's okay. I got hand warmers, feet warmers. I'm good. That's all I'm like. So yeah. I'll just do that and hang out.
There is something to be said about the experience of being under the nighttime sky, though. As much as I like our remote telescope and the images that come from it are awesome, it's not the same experience as being out. So I definitely get it. So
I feel like you feel more accomplished, you know, if you've dragged your gear out and your polar aligned and all that stuff and taking a photo. I know I do anyway. Not that I've used a remote setup, but yeah.
It's more intimate though, because you have that experience going on at that point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Katie, how about you?
Well, I actually started doing astrophotography back in 2016, 2017. But it was Northern Lights and Milky Way on a DSLR and a zoom lens and a wide angle lens. And as time was going on, 2 years had passed by, and all of a sudden on Facebook, I noticed these images coming up, and I thought they were from Hubble, but they weren't. They were from Astro Backyard.
Oh yeah,
and
Trevor.
When I realized this guy, Trevor, you know, I had to contact him, which I did. And fortunately, Trevor got back to me, and I says to him, what you're using, I've got. So can you tell me, how do you get these images? I mean, this is just mind-blowing. I didn't know you could actually take images of the night sky like that, like nebulae and galaxies. And I had always been an observer. I had a Celestron Nexstar 6SE, so I was always looking through it, but never imaging as such. And as soon as I seen that you could actually take images of deep space, that was me. I just had to start, and I went from the DSLR to a star tracker, still using the same camera and zoom lens, but like everybody else, as time goes on, you evolve and you want to get better. And I fell down the rabbit hole and ended up getting a dedicated astro camera. And since then, it was just a complete game changer for me. And now it's constantly, what can I get? What can I buy? And you get telescope and lens envy. So that's been part of the journey for me. Also living in Scotland, it's a challenge with the weather.
Sure.
We have really unpredictable weather here. But when it's good, it's really good, you know, but it could be months in it, you know, like down the road before you'll even get anything. And like at present day, we are losing darkness so quickly. Yet, you know, very soon we'll be into constant twilight, and that'll be me now until September. And it's going to be tough packing everything away again. But no, it's just, it's, as I say, it's amazing that you can actually do what we do. And every time I go on Instagram or social media, I'm blown away with people putting images up, and there is, you know, they're as good as Hubble. If you know, some of them are, you're like, wow, these are actual people taking these images. It just blows my mind. But there you go.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing how you got into it. It's always fun to hear everyone's story and stuff like that. So with that being said, I know STELA has a lot of members. You guys are actually a lot bigger than I think people think you are. What is it, 70 or 80 now?
Something like that. I don't know. Well, the last time
I don't know who keeps
I
the
think it was
master
55,
list.
60,
So,
but there could be more. There could be more. I don't
but
know.
I know you guys are always getting new members. Any woman I run across during any of my outreach events that has interest, I know the first thing it's like, you got to talk to these ladies over here and go learn from them. With that being said, how is it, what do you guys recommend when you have a newcomer come into things? Because I know astronomy can be, like I said, we were talking about earlier, it's kind of overwhelming. There's a lot going on with it. There's a lot you can do with it. And a lot of times it seems unobtainable. You know, equipment's very expensive. You need a lot of different specialty items and you build this whole rig together. But what are your recommendations for if you have a new member? Maybe she's just got a camera and a tripod. How do you guys kind of nurture that new person into growing into astrophotography?
Normally when Lydia introduces someone new to the group, right away we start following them, and then we can ask questions. So what is it you've actually got equipment wise? And as you said there, Kevin, if they said, oh, I've only got a DSLR and a tripod, then it's automatic. I would say, well, that's how I started out. Yeah. Exactly that way. And you can still get deep space images. It just means you're taking them at a very, very short, exposure time, 1 second per exposure, but you can do it. And when you show them, when I post up my old photos, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're completely horrendous, but you can actually make the shape out of Orion and you see some color. So they start getting excited about that. And then as time goes on, sometimes STELA, or from my personal experience, will surprise you and gift you with things as well, which has been totally amazing for me. And I've seen like the likes of what Diana and Sarah and Lydia do by gifting people, star adventurers and things like that, telescopes and what have you, just to help them get on their way. And usually that lets them get that excitement and they start building on it themselves, Yeah, you always advise them there's buy and sell sites, there's, like astronomy, second-hand equipment. Don't necessarily go out and buy anything brand new unless you've got the financial means. If you can borrow something or buy it second-hand and you like what you're doing and you're enjoying it, then go out and spend the money on it. That's the advice I always give. Because some people buy these things, and as you said, Kevin, it can be overwhelming. and it can put people off. And the next thing you know, they just want to sell everything, because some people think as soon as they start taking an image, they're going to be given, they're going to be producing this spectacular photograph, and it doesn't work that way. You have to, build up to it, and you've got to learn the craft. That's the way I see it.
Like we
It is an art form.
Usually if it's somebody that's just starting out and they just have like a camera and tripod, we usually just try to get an idea of what type of photography they're trying to do. So like, are you trying to just do Milky Way photography? Are you trying to do like nebulae or whatever, like we try to get an idea of what they want. That way we have an idea of if we can have the funds and we can gift them something, that we can give them something that we know will work for that, because there's honestly, like Katie was saying, there's nothing worse than like getting something and spending all that money on it and then it not being the actual thing that you need, so like
definitely
it's like the hardest thing is trying to figure out like what exactly they're trying to get with it and how much is the thing going to be, basically. So it's one of those things that you really have to think about what type of budget you have and everything for it. Just like if you're just buying a camera in general, like what type you're trying to go for. But yeah, so we just like to have an idea where everybody's starting off, because I mean, we've had people that join that already had everything that they needed, like already have like a whole Astro setup, and then people that just have DSLRs, so like our range goes anywhere basically. And if anybody has like extra equipment that they don't use, we can always gift it to somebody too. So I know that's what I did with my L Enhanced. I ended up getting the L Extreme, and then I sent my L Enhanced to Scotland to Amber because I wasn't using it. So I was like, all right, well, let's send this over to her because she doesn't have a light pollution filter and she'll be able to use it, so we just try to help each other out any way that we can, basically.
No, that's awesome to do.
And having sorry,
go ahead, Sarah.
Having a group of people to guide you when you're first starting is amazing. I didn't have that when I started, and I bought so much wrong equipment. And yeah, it can save you a lot of money and a lot of frustration, having people help you with what equipment you need to achieve what you want to photograph, basically. So yeah,
I know that's something that Sarah and I could probably relate to a lot working in the telescope industry is, hey, I bought a Dobsonian and I want to get in astrophotography. It's like, well, we should talk about that. So but yeah, and I know you guys have a wide range of ages in the group as well. So I remember being 14 or whatever and going out to an event, and my friends had like C11s on big go-to mounts and refractors and things where it's like, well, I just have this little tiny telescope. And I know how it can feel to be a young person who doesn't have a lot of disposable income, and your parents probably got to help you out, and then you go see someone who's taking these amazing images and they have all their stuff figured out. I know some of the ladies in your group have like 3 or 4 rigs running at one night. Now, we've met Alexandra before. I know you're there, Alex. And she's always running like, I took 47 images in one night and here they all are. But some people have that capability and others don't. And I know that can be, for a newcomer, that's kind of nerve-wracking and scary, where it's like, well, I'm never going to be able to do what this person does because they have all of this. But what's cool about you guys is you're able to show that you can do amazing stuff regardless. And if you want to aspire to that, we'll help you get to that point with some work and some help, which is very cool. Because I think that's a big thing, that it's a big problem nowadays, and Lydia could probably back me up on this too, especially on the social media front. Instagram is like a microcosm, and it's a very weird world, because before I met Diana and really started to understand what was going on in astrophotography Instagram world, that doesn't really bleed over into like the telescope industry too much. It's just kind of there. So it's really kind of this new thing, and there's a lot of garbage that happens in the grid. So, you know, it's so easy to be a keyboard warrior and be like, well, your image sucks and this is trash and I don't like the way you did this. And you got a lot of, get pretty brave when you're sitting on your phone, not staring someone in the face who worked really hard on this picture. And even if it's out of focus and you can't see, it's like someone did that. That's their thing.
Yeah.
So it's really good that you are able to give this safe space of encouragement. And yeah, of course your first image is probably going to be trash, but your second one's going to be a little bit better. And then the third one's going to be even better than that. And then a few months down the road, you're going to be like crazy. And I've seen all your images, and no one starts out throwing down major images. And now all of you produce stunning images, and it just takes work. But I think that's what's cool about STELA is you're able to take women, which are, there's not enough of you in this hobby, and it's way too male dominated, and we all have our opinions, but you should be able to kind of nurture someone who's interested in this hobby and let them grow without them being, you know, pushed down and punched down about how your image doesn't look great. So
yeah, and
I just see that a lot.
That's why we started STELA, because, you know, you might have someone who posts their first, you know, out of focus image of Orion. Mine was shocking. I love it though, because it's, you know, that was my beginning. And then they get torn down and they might be like, oh, well, I'm no good. I'm going to give up. Space is amazing. Like, we want everyone to be proud of every image they take, not be told it was trash, garbage, whatever. Hence why STELA was born. So
every image should be a stepping stone. It shouldn't be like, this is garbage. It's like, no, this is the first step, then the second step, and then the third step, and you climb that ladder, and one day you've got APODs and you're published in a magazine and whatever. But that takes work.
I feel like with hobbies in general, you know, like, I know when somebody starts off, they want to automatically be taking like amazing photos, but we all know like that's not gonna happen. Like, I honestly tell people too all the time, I'm like, honestly, like, you're just starting, like, you will have days where you'll set everything up and then nothing will work and you won't have anything for that night. Like, we've all been there. So like,
I can't tell you how many times I've been on text with Lydia at like midnight.
Yeah.
And we have a remote observatory. It's like $80,000 worth of gear. And some nights it's the most temporal piece of junk you will ever touch. And it's just like, oh, the USB's not working on the filter wheel, or it's not saving to the right drive. And it's just like, you want to just smack this thing. So it's okay. It happens and it doesn't go away no matter how much money you throw at it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I try telling people too. I'm like, I mean, again, like, there's some days where you'll go out and you won't get anything, or you'll forget your memory card, or you'll forget like your cord or something, you know, like it'll happen. It's happened to all of us. And that's like the whole beauty of it, is like learning how to fix it for next time, basically. So I always just try to let everybody know, like, don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up about it. It'll be fine. There's another day. Like,
nobody's an expert, you know. We all learn every day. You learn something different.
I imaged recently, and I've been doing this for 4 years, and I help people with, you know, tech issues as well. My subs were terrible, horrible. I live in border 1. I'm very spoiled, but shocking subs. So it happens to everybody.
I was away with the girls recently, as you know, Helena and Amber. We went away down to the Scottish borders, Portal to Skye, and unfortunately I forgot to take the adapter that attaches my camera to the red cap.
Oh dear.
So it happens, and thankfully we didn't have any good weather to shoot, because I was like, I don't believe I did this. but it happens. And it was the same with just recently. I don't know if you remember, Lydia, when we were posting up images, and I have my first Orion image, and I call it the red blob because it is just a red blob. And every time I post that up, you always get a comment on Instagram or Facebook, and people say, "Oh, wow, I am so glad you put that up. I didn't realize, you took crap images as well." I says, yeah, it's always good to post the bad as well as the good, because it doesn't always work in your favor. And like you were saying there, Kevin, I had a beautiful crystal clear night and nothing would work. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
My mount kept turning off. My camera kept disconnecting. 2 nights later, the sky's not great and everything's working perfect. Best guiding I ever had. And I'm like, how is this even possible?
That's how it works.
It's technology as well, So yeah,
like,
it happens to the best of us.
I'm just like, you don't know how many times I've wanted to kick my mount. Like, I don't do it because it's expensive, but if it wasn't expensive, I would kick it.
Oh.
I've had times where filter wheels were going to turn into a discus and go right into the wall if it wasn't going to keep working. It's like, this is $1,000 filter wheel with lots of filters in it, and it's about to get shattered into a million pieces if it doesn't do it again. So, it happens. You just learn.
Happen. I mean, my husband laughs at me. He said, some nights he'll say to me, I watch you when you get that frustrated. I'll run out in the garden and I'll stamp my feet, and I'm like a petulant child because nothing's going my way. But that's the passion of astrophotography, because, it grabs you. And when things don't go right, you're like, you do the list. Have I turned it on? Have I got everything? You go through every single detail going, right, okay, everything's up and running, and nothing works. So
I think that's
the
beauty of STELA being, worldwide as well. Everyone's in a different time zone. So if someone's having an issue at their night, there's usually someone awake to help troubleshoot as well.
That's very true. That is very true. But what I love is the fact that you being in the Southern Hemisphere, you'll share photos, you'll put photos up of things I can't get to image, and vice versa, because we're in different hemispheres, and it's just, it's beautiful. It's amazing to see, So yeah, it's great, as you say, because we're all over the globe.
Yeah. I get
so,
when she posts
well, yeah, Southern Hemisphere. The Southern Hemisphere people, I give Sarah's boss, Will, who we had on a few months ago, he sends us stuff all the time. He's like, so I shot, Magellanic Clouds. We're like, screw you, Will.
Yeah.
Screw you.
Cool.
It's like, cool story, bro. So
I'm so jealous that you guys get the Bubble Nebula, because that's my favorite.
Oh
yeah, wow.
And I'm jealous of the fact that you get the Carina, I'm like,
right.
See, that's so boring to me too, because it's always there.
Because you're used to getting it, whereas I'm used to the bubble. Bubble in the claw.
Right.
Yeah, Sarah over here, where it's like, I could shoot Carina anytime in my Portal 1 skies. Poor me. It's like,
I just want the bubble. We always want
first world problems.
Yeah,
we have a remote Skywatcher set up that is available when it's daytime and you're answering emails. You could literally be imaging the bubble while you're working.
I told her that. I told her.
I will make my my setup remote one day as well, so you guys can use it.
Yeah. Well,
I've told Will to do that, and he has yet to do it.
I did mention it to him the other day. I'm like, we need an observatory.
Yeah.
Smack him. The heck, Will. So
yeah.
So I know STELA has meetings once a week, and you guys are really, your main space right now, if people want to find you, is on Instagram, correct?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So if there's any ladies watching, look up STELA on Instagram. That's where you can find them. Where do each one of you see STELA moving as it, I mean, you're in the 4th or 5th year of it existing now. I know STELA came out to Sol, the solar event we had here in Arizona, which was the first public like STELA event, which was really cool to have all the ladies out there representing. Where do you guys see STELA going in the future?
So we're always organizing meetups.
Meetups.
Yeah, I'm terrible at geography, but there's a lot of STELA people around Arizona, I want to say. Lydia, you could help me with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're always organizing meetups and little star parties and stuff like that. So, as we grow, we're hoping to do more events and stuff like that. Here in Australia, there's only a handful of us, and I'm 5 hours away from my closest STELA person, so I'm hoping that we can grow a bit more and find some more women astrophotographers. I'm gonna do some outreach myself down here. So I think a lot more events. Hopefully one day I'll get to go to the US, or the girls can come here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Will needs to send you up here for Texas Star Party. We've been trying to get him up here. You should have Will come to Texas Star Party.
I mean, if he goes, surely he needs an assistant.
So. Right.
Absolutely. So
nice one.
Or he could just not come and send you. Like, that's simple, easy.
Well, the thing is, this isn't going away. I mean, since COVID, it's just went through the roof. And you can still find that, because when you go to buy equipment, it's still, a waiting list with some of the companies. And and I'm finding that more people on the Facebook page contact you and they say, well, how can I get into this? And that's when you say, right, well, if you're on Instagram, here's STELA, and you either invite them in or you speak to the girls like Diana and Sarah and say, there is people that want to join on. Because like Sarah, we've got, the UK's got, I'd say about maybe 8-10 people, so yeah. And we usually try and meet up, even the ones in Ireland, like Danny and what have you. It's been really, really good that way. So yeah. My sisters.
And I think
sisters.
Just like STELA in general, like even if somebody is joining to like just learn how to do it, and then they feel like, okay, like I feel like I'm good now, like STELA's still gonna be there, even if they're not super active or anything like that, like STELA's still gonna be there. Like you could still do the events and everything with us, like, or if you have any questions or whatever, like they can still ask questions. So I feel like we really just want STELA to just have like that footprint where anybody can join and get the help that they need whenever they need it, and you're not obligated to stay if you don't feel like you need to, You
don't have to attend meetings. I mean, I'm usually the middle of the day for me for meetings, so I'm working. So it's very, very rare that I'm ever in a STELA meeting, but I know the girls are always there if I need help or anything.
Yeah. So it's like, it's always going to be there. Like, I don't think anybody has to worry about it going anywhere anytime soon. No. So
the support's still there, definitely. Yeah. And the need is still there as long as there's a need,
Definitely. I think it's one of those things where just there's not a lot of people who know about it. And as it grows and gets bigger, you have that bigger support net there. So it's cool that you guys have been able to pull all that together. It's not STELA's I don't know how you would organize it, but it's not a nonprofit, so it's not like a 501c3. So if someone wanted to assist, there's not like the tax deduction thing that gets really complicated, but it's more of like a volunteer group, for lack of a better term, I guess you could say. So if anybody's watching and you're asking how can I assist, it's just to give them kind of an idea of what STELA's I can't even think of the word, structure would be, just in case someone wanted to assist. So
and a nonprofit is something we talked about right at the start, and it could be direction we go as well. So because we want it to grow, and we're grateful for companies like Skywatcher for their support, and yourself, and yeah,
For sure. Yeah.
it gives us a lot of exposure and helps us help people. So
Yeah,
No, it's
even if like somebody has gear that they don't need anymore and they just want to sell it, like if we have the funds, like we could probably just buy it for a STELA member, So
Yeah.
like that's also a route that we've considered as well. So
Sure. No, that's all very cool stuff. And Lydia, you're the one that runs the actual STELA Instagram page, I think, if that's correct.
So it's either me, Diana, or Sarah that are active on it. So if anybody reaches out to anybody here, like it's gonna be one of us that writes you, basically.
Okay, cool. And do you guys have a website, or is that in development, or?
We're still working on it. Yeah, it's
okay.
in development right now.
Just in case, I know. So this webcast, obviously, we have about 100 people that watch the episodes when they go live. And then in a few weeks, there's several hundred to a couple thousand people that watch. But the links for these, before we go out, get emailed to the entire 25,000 emails of Skywatchers demographic. So for anybody who's watching this episode or in the future, that's just how, if you want to get in touch with STELA, that's the best way to do it, is through the Instagram pages. But at least you have some faces to put with who's going to be responding to you as well. Let's see. What else could we dive into? We've got about 12 minutes left to go. What would you like to see more of in astrophotography? I mean, obviously the technology has gotten crazy to where you have like the ASI Air has made automation really easy. Filters are getting narrower, cameras are getting better. Technology's just gotten stupid with astrophotography, but what would you guys like to actually see more of in the future for astrophotography?
I personally, this is not technology, but I would like to see more acceptance of people's art, The other day, a good friend of mine, Kat Miller, who's a STELA member, her Instagram is astrogirl.au. Bit of a plug. She's amazing. She's actually testing a Quattro 150, so stay tuned. She posted an amazing image, and I saw a comment saying about the saturation, and I'm like, it's her art. She can put the saturation however she wants. I'd love to see people more accepting of how people put their photos out there, because I mean, I love bright colors. I don't want to see, well, I'll see anything, but my art's going to be different to Lydia's or Katie's. And I think there needs to be, people need to, for lack of a better term, pull their heads in a little bit and realize it's not their image. What does it matter? Just enjoy the pretty sky, It
all comes down to personal taste, and use ladies know this. I'm known on my STELA, or on the STELA page, for playing with color palettes. I don't stick to the rules. I do what I like, what attracts my eye. And
there are no rules.
You get the grief, as you know.
Our eyes can't see what color it is in space, so what does it matter?
Well, this is it. And I was doing a talk recently, and I was trying to explain that to people, when certain ones would say, well, you're not putting the channels properly. And I went, says who? It's how you want to portray your image. And who's to say that that's not the color that's up there? Because it's Hubble palette. They assigned those colors to those channels. So you have to accept the fact that people want to express themselves through their own images and put their own touch on it and look on it and feel on it. And you go on Instagram and every picture could be the same. You don't want that. You want to see something different, something that grabs your attention. So I always say, be true to yourself. you know, yeah, there's some people can't handle it, but
Yeah.
you know, there's
Yeah.
others that can if they've got a thick enough skin. You know, you just let it roll over. As Kevin says, keyboard warriors, they could be
Yeah.
sitting behind their desk. They're not posting anything up. It's your personal touch on things. It's your brand, your name, you know.
You know what I love though? Like you'll be scrolling Instagram, you'll see an image before you see the name of the person, and sometimes
Yeah.
you know exactly who
You know who
did
it
that.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You,
Mhm.
Because
because
it's
of
their
the
own
look.
style.
Yeah. Or the color palette or whatever. Yeah. Most definitely. Most
Yeah.
definitely.
I feel like with astrophotography, like in the end, it's photography, and photography is art, and art
And it's
is
subjective.
So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Correct.
Like,
Correct.
I think if you want to make something green, make it green.
Make
like,
it green.
Do it.
Yeah.
You want to make it look purple or whatever, make it purple. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's
say,
not
if you're
something
happy
you
with
would
it,
do.
that's
Just
all
because.
that it matters. You know, that's what it comes down to.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm as you know, I'm a general photographer, and I do a lot of different things daytime wise. And people will say, you know, like, oh, that this color's wrong and that color's wrong. No, that's what the client wanted, so that's what the client's getting.
Yeah. Mhm.
You know, you just have to be yourself.
Yeah.
But you know, as I say, comments can be hurtful too, and sometimes it's hard to kind of scroll past that. And that's the beauty of STELA as well. If someone's attacking one of the members, we all pull rank. You know, we will pull rank. Well, I do. I mean, I know that I'll go in and get my 10 cents worth in. But that's what you do. And it's not to be a negative person, it is to show solidarity to the group and to the person that's getting negative comments. And you know, and you'll find that when that does happen, the person that's put the comment up usually deletes it or stays off the page for a while, you know, to let it die down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's definitely that support there in that respect.
It's a very opinionated hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in the end, it's a hobby. So it's
that's
a hobby.
Exactly.
So
It's be fun.
let people live their lives. It's okay.
Correct. Correct. It's not the be all and end all.
We do tend to get caught up in a lot of the unwritten rules of things like that. And I know working professionally in it, and I'm sure Sarah sees this a lot, is you have a lot of these unwritten rules where you should do it this way and you should do it that way, and blah, 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 blah. And it comes up all the time. And that gets amplified a lot when you're on social media and people kind of pour their heart out into whatever that art may be, whether it's a photograph or an image that you've done or music or whatever it may be. Yeah. It's very easy to sit there and just tear down someone's thing and criticize it, but not build it up. So there does need to be more support in a lot of different ways. That's a good one, actually. I'm glad you guys went with that instead of, you know, going down the equipment wormhole, because that's what happens all the time. That's actually a very good and positive outlook on what we need more of moving forward. So I appreciate that.
Definitely. Most definitely. It's not that you've got the younger generation coming in. I mean, we've got young members like the Three Sisters Astronomy, and you want to, and you know, like have them come on, and we're all the same. There's so many different generation age gaps, but you don't want them to feel, oh, I'm too young. So we don't do that. We include everybody in everything, no, regardless of age. That's what I love. I mean, I'll talk to the three girls as an equal, not as a parent or a grandparent for that matter. It's like, no, if you're talking about Astro has no age, you know, it shouldn't have. It's a hobby, as Lydia said. So, you know, treat them as your equal, not as children as such, you know, because they're the ones that's going to carry this forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the way I see it. Yeah.
Dying photons on your sensor, don't care how old you are. Want to be seen.
Well, it's kind of cool because you kind of instill a level of respect to them, to where it's like, oh, well, yeah, I feel like I am an equal. That's the biggest thing I think of for me when I see STELA come up, is that you should be treated as equal as every other person in this astronomy hobby, or any, just in the world in general, where it's like, I've worked with Lydia for probably a year now at this point. I've never thought of Lydia to be here or here or here. Like, we were on the same plane. Like, there's just constant respect for each other on, hey, we're astronomers. We're trying to reach this goal. Awesome. How do we do that? Mm-hmm. Same thing with Diana or whoever else. It doesn't matter. I don't really see you as woman or guy or whatever. It's like, we're astronomers, and we're people that are, you know, in love with the way the universe works, and we're fascinated by it, because once it gets dark, your voice may be a little higher pitched, but I don't know what you look like at that point. So
that's a very good way of putting it, actually.
So you all look the same to me. So
yeah. The only thing I would say is different is we tend to be extra protective of the younger ones.
Well, most definitely.
Got to shield them and protect them. You know, but fortunately, as I say, the astral community is fantastic. The majority, I tell everybody that, I mean, they'll say, friends and family will say, oh my God, these are astral geeks. Well, you know, what is it? And I say, but you know what? You'll never meet a nicer community, or a more giving community, for that matter.
I find people,
I feel blessed.
When people ask what I do, and I say I'm an astrophotographer, they're like, oh wow, that's amazing. That's really cool, because then you can, you know, you have a conversation about it, and then it piques their interest and plants that seed, or maybe I want to look through a telescope. And
it is a fun thing to go through the Starbucks drive-through, and they're like, what are you doing for work today? It's like, working on telescopes. It's like, what? It's like,
it is a conversation starter, and it definitely draws attention, because I remember the first time I let some friends look through the colossal and to see Saturn, and you know, it was like, wow. And they're like, and that's really up there? I'm like, yep, that's really up there. That's what you're looking at just now. You know, and that's what I'm always trying to enforce into people as well. Like, just spend some time looking up. You'll be amazed at what you see.
Yeah, definitely. Like my biggest goal in the whole like STELA astrophotography thing is like, I don't care who you are, how old you are. I just want people to like look up. That's all I want people to do. You know, like I want you to look up and be like, that's Mars. Like, you can like see it, you know, like you can point things out, or even if you can't point things out, if just admire it, you know, because it's there. It's always been there, and it's going to be there. So
it's going to be there a long time.
Right?
Yeah.
Until we're swallowed by Andromeda.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Well, I really appreciate all three of you being a part of it. We pretty much wrapped our hour at that point. So, it goes by fast when you're all talking nerdy. So, it's all right.
No, Kevin, you're talking to women. That's our forte.
That's all right. It's a lot of fun, and you know, it'd be a pleasure to meet you all in person one day, hopefully under some starry sky. But I definitely appreciate, I know the whole Skywatcher team appreciates all three of you taking the time. I know, Katie, it's very late in Scotland right now. Sarah's on Saturday hanging out in the future. And then Lydia and I are here in like normal times. But thank you to all three of you for taking the time out of your days to make this all happen, and big appreciation to STELA for being a part of our Women's History Month collection, and starting it all off. So thank you all very much.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate the support.
Absolutely. So if you guys want to know more about STELA, go over to Instagram and look up STELA, S-T-E-L-A. Look for their cool Women Looking Through a Telescope logo. Check them out. Follow them if you want to learn about more. And if you're a woman looking to get into astrophotography, there is no better group on the planet to go check out. So head over to Instagram, check out all their cool stuff, and then follow some of their members and see what cool images are coming up. But if you guys like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe. Leave a like on a video. Lets us know we're doing a good job. And we will see you guys next week. Our next episode is with Kat Manchin. She's joining us next week for another edition of Women's History Month episode. And we're talking space art. So we'll have Kat on to talk about that. Brilliant. All right, ladies, thank you so much. Katie, I will let you get to sleep. Sarah, you've got things to do. And Lydia's probably got video games to get to. So I'm going to let everybody get to their day. Thank you so much. And we will see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Clear skies. It's new moon weekend. Get out and observe. Bye.